Tutorials. My name's Dave, and in this tutorial I'm going to walk you through creating a console app or a console application. If you're not sure what a console app is, it'd be easier to show you than to tell you. So I'm going to walk you through how to do that. So I've got Visual Studio open. All I've done so far is just open Visual Studio. So I have an icon on the desktop. I just double click that icon or clicked on the icon in all programs, whatever. So all I've done is open Visual Studio, and when you open Visual Studio, the first thing you see is this start page. This is called the start page. And to create a new project, we just click on the new project. This right here, just click on that. You could also go to File and click on New Project here. So you can do it this way, or you just click on New Project here. And I normally just click this, New Project. So I've opened Visual Studio, I have the start page, and I'm going to click on New Project. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And I want a console application this time. So I'm going to click on Console Application. And you see there are Forms, Applications, WPF, so there are other things here. But right now we want a console application. So now that I have that selected, I need to name the application. This is just the default name that Visual Studio gives it. So I don't want to use the default name, I want to give it a name. So I'm going to name this My Console App. So My Console App. So I'm going to give it a name. I have console application selected, and I've given it a name. And when you're naming your apps, you want to use letters, numbers, and you can use underscores if you want. These are the underscores. By convention, I think typically you probably don't want to use underscores. I typically don't use underscores in these names, but you could also have spaces. That's legal. That's okay. Actually, what Visual Studio does is add underscores, replaces the space with an underscore. But you want to stick with numbers, letters. Spaces are okay, underscores are okay. You want to stay away from things like apostrophes, any special characters, apostrophes, dollar signs, asterisks, anything like that. Any kind of special character you want to stay away from when naming the app. So stick with letters and numbers. And let's see, okay, so we have console app selected. You can see it highlighted. I've named it My Console App. And now I want to click on OK, and it'll take a few seconds. And now Visual Studio has set up My Console App, and let's click on Solution Explorer, and we can see the files that Visual Studio has created for us. It's created this sort of a skeleton file here called program.cs, and I'm not going to go into detail about the code here. I'm not worried too much about it right now. We'll come back to it. So let's go ahead and I'm going to type in console.writeLine and hello world. Actually, I'm going to add a comma so it'd be grammatically correct. All right. Console.readLine this time. Okay, and again, if the code doesn't make sense to you, and if you're just getting started, I'm sure it doesn't make sense to you right now, but that's okay. So I just want to introduce you to how to create a console app and what a console app is. So I'm going to go ahead and run this, and to run a program, you click on this play button, this start button, run button. It's like a little play button. You just click on that, and that will run the program. It's running it in debug mode, which is basically sort of a development mode. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to click on the start button, and you see this is a console app. And all this does is just prints the text "Hello World" to this screen. This is the console screen. And as you can see, console apps aren't very excited. They don't look pretty. You can't use buttons or colors or anything. Everything's just plain Jane. Console apps do have their place if you just want to do some kind of processing, and you don't need a user interface. By user interface, I mean buttons and text boxes and visual things that people can interact with. If you don't need that, then a console app may be the way to go. It's also good for learning programming, because you're just focused on the code itself and not the user interface. So this is a console app, just very plain Jane, and you can see this is called a console, and there's not much going on here. We just have a very simple program. It just prints out "Hello World" to the screen, and we'll go ahead and exit out of there. So that's a console app. It has its uses. Most of the time you're going to be using other types of apps because you want to have the buttons and you want to make it look pretty and all that. But this is a console app. It does have its uses. And okay, so now that I have the console app created, really the first thing you want to do, and actually we should have started with this, the first thing you really want to do is click on this button here. This is the Save All icon, and that's really the first thing you want to do. So what that does is tells Visual Studio where to save your application. Because right now it hasn't really saved it anywhere. It's in a default location. But we want to tell Visual Studio where to save our project. You can see the name My Console App. That's what I named it. And right here, this is where Visual Studio is going to save this project. And you can see I have a folder in Documents and Dave and C# projects. And it's a good idea to have a folder in Documents or My Documents. You could put it on the desktop if you like. Desktops get cluttered really easily, so it's usually a good idea to use the Documents or My Documents folder. Create you a subfolder in that folder with your name or whatever, and put all your stuff in that folder. That way you know where it's at, so you're not searching to find where you save the project. So I have this folder. This is where I put my projects, and this should be checked. It is checked by default. Create directory for solution. That is what you want. So that's going to be checked by default, and it should be checked. That'll create a folder for your solution. So everything's right there. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save, and there you go. So now it's saved in that location where I told it to save it to. So now I know where this project is. So if I want to open this project, I can go to that folder, and actually let's do that now. Okay, so I've got it, My Documents, Dave, and C# and projects, and you see I have a bunch of other stuff here. So My Console App. So I'm going to double click on this, and there's the SLN file, and right here, SLN file. That's the solution file. That's the file that you want to double click on. That's the one you want to open, and that will open the entire solution. So okay, so that's the first thing you want to do, is click on the Save All icon. The Save icon only saves whatever file you happen to have open. That's all that it saves. So generally you want to use the Save All. I always use the Save All. That way it's going to save everything, not just the one file that I'm working on. So after you create an app, no matter what type of app it is, the first thing you want to do, it's a good idea to go ahead and click on Save All. Tell Visual Studio where you want to save that project, and periodically you want to click on Save All to save your work, to make sure you don't write a bunch of code and then forget to save it. And Also, if you click on the start button, it'll save it for you automatically. So anytime you run it, it's going to save it. So just make sure your work gets saved and you don't waste your time writing a bunch of code that doesn't get saved. So this is the way to do that. Save all. Of course, you can do this in File, also save all. You can use the shortcut Control-Shift-S. Just make sure you click on Save All periodically to save your work. And that's the first thing you want to do after you create any kind of app, is to click on Save All, tell it where to save it, and that'll tell Visual Studio where to save your project, so you'll know where it's at when you need to open it back up and do some more work on it or whatever it is. So this is a console app. It's a very simple console app. I know the code probably doesn't make much sense if you're just getting started, but that's okay. We're going to come back to this. I just want to walk you through how to create a console app.